want to get to the talking points for this week, and I want to ask you guys this question. Depending on whatever metrics you want to use for it, this past weekend, Borat Subsequent Moviefilm opened. Do you guys think that the film was a success for Amazon?
100%.
Yeah, absolutely. Because, I mean, at the end of the day, whether people wanted... You had to think about sort of like the indirect... effect of like sort of the promotion that it got. And I want to compare it. It's a weird comparison, but you guys, I'm sure, have seen that viral video of the dude on the skateboard going down the road drinking cranberry juice.
Ocean breeze,
like,
whatever it's
Ocean
called.
Spring, I think.
Yeah.
And so that was indirectly, exactly. That video was so good for Ocean Springs that like they ended up buying him a truck. And I think local cranberry farmers around the country have said that like we're doing massive business because of this video. And so you have to think about it. Like this video was such... The Borat, it was so in the conversation, especially the news conversation because of Rudy Giuliani.
Yeah.
And every time someone would bring up Borat, they would say, which is now streaming on Amazon Prime. So whether people clicked and pressed play or not, it was such a massive worldwide story attached to the Amazon brand. I guarantee you Amazon is incredibly happy with they probably don't, and I think a lot of people watched it, but I don't think they care how many people watched it. It was talked about worldwide, and the name Amazon was talked about with it. You didn't say Borat without saying Amazon.
And the president of the United States was talking about the film. I mean, I don't know other films that have been mentioned by Trump over the past. It
got mentioned in the debate, didn't it? Didn't Biden bring it up in the debate? Because I know he mentioned your friend Rudy Giuliani.
He said something Giuliani, and then he kind of paused and kind of smiled, and then proceeded, which made me wonder if like he thought about going there, and then it was like, oh no, I'm not. Like the name Borat wasn't brought up, but there was a moment where I went, he was thinking about Borat in that moment.
But I swear to God, there was an interview where Trump was asked about it, and
on Air Force One, I think,
and then Cohen responded. I mean, think about that promotion right there. If the, I mean,
thanks for the free publicity.
Oh my God! I mean, and then you have Rudy Giuliani tweeting about the scene and a 4-thread tweet of who's not going to watch that. I will never forget on the day the reviews for that film came out, and this was a big discussion that Sean and Gabe and I were having behind the scenes, was about whether or not that sequence was a spoiler, and it was already out there in the news.
I had it ruined for me.
Right, and it became a news story, so it became more important than the film. But I haven't gotten I got texts from people who I haven't talked to in a long time asking me, how is that scene? How is Borat 2? And you could, Jake, I think you understand what I'm saying here. Like, you sometimes get like there's a vibe that happens with a film sometimes where you start feeling the momentum for it. And like that, the ramp up last week. Yeah. But I will say this real fast. I want to give Sacha Baron Cohen credit because that film, if you haven't watched any of the press for it, he didn't do a lot of press for it. But what went into the making of that movie is astounding to me. And we've talked a lot about how that film was made, how the CPAC scene was done, how the Giuliani sequence was done. I think Seth Rogen put this out on Twitter about how this is a guy who actually puts his life at risk for art. And you go back and watch the 2006 Borat film. That's an aggressive movie. I forgot how aggressive the 2006 Borat was. Like, he's really out there. Do you remember like he was in some very remember the subway sequence in 2006 one where he's like messing with people on the subway and some guys that are going to punch you in the face? Like, it was legitimately
when he lets the chicken out, when the chicken's running around.
Yes. And so for me, and I know I said this on Twitter, I think that Maria Bakalova deserves an Oscar nomination. She's
all right,
so
that was
good.
my next topic. Can it win an Oscar?
No.
No?
I don't. I actually have a feeling that this could get nominated for something. I don't.
Wait, get nominated or win?
Oh, I don't know if
I said win, but let's do nominated.
Okay, so what was Borat's?
I mean, the first one got a screenplay nomination.
Right, Jake. I wanted to ask you because you're you have a lot of Oscar knowledge. It won. It got nominated for a ton of Globes, right? A couple Globes. It got nominated.
He won Best Actor in a Comedy at the goal and gave a great speech. It's worth YouTubing. The entire speech is dedicated to the actor who played Ozma. And he talks about how, like, when you laid your Golden Globes upon my chin, I unfortunately, because keep in mind, the Oscar race goes through the end of February.
Sure.
If they were to start voting right now, I would say, yeah, like she might have a shot at getting a nomination.
Sure.
unfortunately, I feel like the buzz on this movie is going to be dead in 4 months.
And
because it's so right now.
You're right.
It's so like good. It is a movie that had to come out a week before the presidential election. And by this point, keep in mind, whatever the result of the election is going to be, it's over a month after that that they even have to start putting in their nominations.
Here's why I have a good feeling about the Oscar thing. Again, we've had long discussions on this show about how the Oscars don't appreciate comedies, how they don't appreciate comedic actors and performances. So it goes against completely the grain of like what an Oscar film would quote unquote be. That being said, there are so many people right now who are, you know, on different political sides of the world, different celebrities who are on different political sides. And I think everybody saw this movie. I saw actors tweeting about this film that I don't normally see talk about other films. Like it
was all over social media,
right? And but I found
he didn't even get a nomination for Best Actor in the first one. The first one I felt like was such a cultural phenomenon.
But here's why I feel like this one could break that, and I think because of the importance of the time we're in right now, but also like you have to think about her performance. It overshadows him. It actually is better than Sacha's.
I'm going to do a test. Okay. Sean, what is the actress's name that plays his daughter?
Maria Bakalova.
Okay. All right. My thought was going to be that the average Oscar voter doesn't know her name and isn't going to be willing to look it up.
I ended up writing a couple of stories about her, so I didn't know her name.
I think a lot of Oscar voters are lazy. And they're not willing to like look up people's names, and they're not willing to look up how to spell people's names. And I feel like I don't mean to like honestly like slight any, but I honestly think in 4 months when the conversations died down, the average 80-year-old Oscar voter is not going to go like, oh, what was that girl's name in Borat, and then like go to IMDb and look it up and make sure. I just don't think they're going to be willing to put in.
Not when Frances McDormand or someone is right next to her. They'll be like, oh, I liked her.
This is classic Jake Kevin discussion because it's funny because Jake thinks more logically, I think more emotionally when it comes to this stuff. And I at the moment, you're right. There's a profound.
And I hope you're right. Yeah. Like you and I are on the same side in terms of what we want to happen. Right. I agree with you in that I don't think we're going to get to the end of this Oscar year in February and say that wasn't one of the best performances of the year. Like I don't think it. Like she fooled Rudy Giuliani. Like I don't think that you can. But I just don't think it's going to happen.
I also want a movie about the making of this film. And like,
yes.
I mean, Sacha Baron Cohen said it in his. I'll just plug it because I don't want to. I'll give credit, but in his GMA interview, he said that he hid in the background in the bathroom for 5 hours at CPAC prior to interrupting Mike Pence's speech.
Nuts. And just what do you do in a bathroom stall for 5 hours?
He sat there and listened to conservative people come in and talk. And he just kind of got a vibe of what conversations we're having in the bathroom while transforming into Trump. And then again, it's an amazing thing. But going back to her for 2 seconds, and then we'll move on. If you look just at the Giuliani sequence, you have to understand that's not scripted, obviously, right? So she's sitting in front of this guy, and the scene is going down, and everything you're seeing her do is adjusting on the spot.
Yeah.
And like to stay in character, and you go to the dance sequence at the debutante house, which is one of the funniest things I've ever seen in my entire life. But to not break, like you watch SNL, people break all the time when you're in these like
Adele all weekend. And she was great, but she broke.
And you rehearse these things and you still break.
Yeah.
The fact that she didn't break, like her conversation with that woman in the car about this plastic surgery, is just so funny to me.
How do you not break laughing?
How do you not break?
I know. I paid attention to her reactions so laser focused watching it through with Michelle, because I was like, here's the point where I would totally lose it.
How? Yes.
Because he's throwing out off the cuff things that you're not expecting either. So it's all credit to her.